Today we'll be playing as Gnollakaz and trying to reach the highest heights a Gnoll can achieve without becoming a demon, by forming Konolkhatep. To start with, we can't really attack Ketria or Nirat, because we start with a truce with them, unfortunately. So we can't rush them down, so we need something to spend the next 5 years in-game doing. We could start attacking and tributizing nations, which is honestly a pretty good idea, but it's not what we're going to do. What we are going to do is we're going to attack this purple nation who I can't pronounce. Why? Simple. This province here is one of the provinces that are required as part of the mandate to own in order to not gain negative mandate. Because it is, funnily enough, the last step on the Road of Sorrows. If you actually look, you can see this is the River of Sorrows flowing through, and this is the final province. You might not notice because it's not actually in any region to do with it. It's not in Gnoll, it's not in Ketria. It's in this one here, which is not sure the name of. Can I see it? Apara. Either way. So we're going to actually attack these guys first. These guys are pretty strong though. They start as a mageocracy, they have a mage ruler. It's going to be a close one. Well, maybe not close. They'll probably just try and stack wipe us. We'll have to intimidate them with large Gnollish forces. They also have a vassal, and if we can full annex them, we'll gain this vassal, which is always nice, right? So if worst comes to the worst, we're not going to try and full annex them. We don't have to. If we resign ourselves to just taking that province, it'll be good enough. For that reason alone, we're going to try and avoid fighting them as much as possible, and, well, that went out the window. They immediately attacked us, but this might be good. It actually went good. We actually defeated them, we took quite a few casualties, but they didn't actually have their mage ruler in that battle. And honestly, good enough is good enough for me. As you can see, they've now got their war wizard up, so we'd like to try avoid fighting them as much as possible. Honestly, I kind of want them to just siege down my land and not cause trouble for me. We are also going to we're going to initiate cults in our provinces, which is a unique ability of our religion. I'm pretty sure the X in this, it's probably silent X. Otherwise it's Zahazbo, because I feel like it's just pronounced Hasbos cult. But if it's like an X, it's like X-Hasbol cult. I'm sure someone knows how to pronounce it anyway. We can have initiated cults in some of our land where it's all the same religion. And the benefits are pretty great. 15 plus tax income, minus 2 revolt risk. Plus, we get some demonic power. Now, the demonic power will kind of just drain away, so it's best that we spend it. And I think I'm going to spend it on this, Invocation of Blood, just for the minus war exhaustion, which will make coring land faster once we actually start taking it, because we'll have less war exhaustion. So the war is over up with Ketria. Ketria lost, even though Netrat is now called Ketria. We're actually going to try and destroy their war wizard. See, this is the power of a Gnoll. Even a war wizard isn't good enough. Right, we've managed to absorb these purple people, which means we now have a new vassal, these guys here. You'll be sad to know that Zoka has died, and his vassals gained their independence, and then were almost immediately vassalized by these guys here in Haragstidia. Either way, now we need to think about our next move. We still can't declare war on Nirat, now Ketria, due to the truce. So we still have time to kill. We could raise these provinces we've just taken, but I'm not going to because raising provinces doesn't feel thematic for this campaign. The optimal thing to do would be to raise them, even though it would cause devastation in some of the province, which is something we don't want. But as I said, it just doesn't feel right for this campaign. I know it's not optimal. I know it's not the best option, but I don't care. We're actually going to declare on this nation here, because they tend to get just completely annihilated by everyone around them very quickly. So we kind of want to jump on them and make them into a tributary. Could we full annex them, actually? We could not. So we're going to make them a tributary. Hopefully they don't get dogpiled on too much while during this war, or we'll have to fight everyone who dogpiles them after we make peace. Even though we're still at war with these guys down here, we're actually going to turn around and declare war on Ketria right now because they don't have an ally. So we actually have access to a unique casus belli called Taking the Stewardship of the Sorrows. This casus belli is really good because it gives us only 25% aggressive expansion and only 50% cost for taking their provinces. There's actually kind of a trick here where we don't take the Steward of the Sorrows, we just take land. The casus belli won't mind. We could hypothetically near annex their nation. We probably won't do this though. Instead, we'll probably get something like this. If we can. Let's see. We've taken the city of Ketra. And there's a pretty horrible event that probably will almost definitely happen. Where if you take Ketra as a non-Steward of Sorrows, and the Steward of Sorrows controls it, it will just revert back to the control of the Steward. So what we're going to do is we're going to mothball the fort, so that if they do that, they'll have no garrison and we can just hopefully immediately retake it. It's kind of cheating, but we're going to do it anyway, just to spare us having to siege it down again. I underestimated these guys a little bit. They actually did stack wipe us at one point. We lost one of our stacks, but that means we'll get more money, I suppose, which we can then use to buy another stack. I guess we're gonna mercenary max, since we took so many casualties. As I said, we have a lot of, well, we did have a high income. Is it worth it? Let's do it. Let's hire this monstrous horde. We'll hire the monstrous band. They're weaker, but they don't cost as much. Alrighty. This war has gone as good as it was probably gonna go. We're going to peace out, taking the Steward of Sorrows. Normally, I wouldn't do this. I wouldn't take the Steward of Sorrows. I would just take as much land as I possibly could. Probably something like this. This would be pretty perfect, I think, actually. But I'm not going to do that. Because I want to show off the mission tree for our nation. And there is some benefit to forming it earlier rather than later, which we'll talk about in a bit. So let's do it. We'll take the Steward of Sorrows. We get our event for becoming the Steward. I hope they don't become too debauched. This immediately turns us into a monarchy. No, actually it doesn't. I'm wrong. Thought it was supposed to. Ah, well. We can't become Konolkhatep until we core the land we've taken. But we can start turning people into strateps. Or strapped. How is it pronounced? Whatever. Unfortunately, though, everyone hates us. So we'll need to have to improve relationships a little bit with people before they'll consider becoming them. But it shouldn't be too difficult. So we've cleared everything up. We've started vassalizing a few countries. So let's start talking about the mandate and becoming Konolkhatep. So as the Steward of the Sorrows, it's basically the same as the Mandate of Heaven from the vanilla game, but there is quite a few differences. We have a bunch of different reforms we can pass, of course. We also have decrees. The biggest difference is hedonism. In the normal game, you can increase meritocracy by employing higher quality advisors and through the unique estate, I believe. But here we can't do that. We can't really do anything to increase hedonism outside of having good rulers, which isn't exactly something we have a lot of control over. Outside of that, we can just spend military power to strengthen the government and hope for good events. In the early game, hedonism is a big problem because it decreases not just your reputation, but also your ruler's lifespan and your administrative efficiency. And at lower levels, it even decreases how many advisors spawn. You can kind of counteract hedonism by passing some reforms that give passive buffs to hedonism. But as I said, the problem is kind of getting it up high enough that you can pass those reforms in the first place. But we'll see about that a little later on. For now, we can talk a little bit about the unique Strapit vassal we have. These basically behave exactly the same as tributaries, but because we're gnolls, we have access to a unique reform called the weak serve the strong. This stops our tributaries, which includes the Strateps, from declaring war on other tributaries or offering alliances. Basically, we can fully isolate them from each other by tributizing them. As you can see, our tributaries don't have any allies. They're just sitting there. That really helps with keeping rebelliousness down, as they can't ally with each other or even other factions. But we're going to go ahead right now and form Konolkhatep, which should turn us into a monarchy, and we'll get the mother and son event. I'm not sure how interested people are in hearing me read these events, but I'll try reading them. To start with, for this decision we have, at first our relationship with the beings known as the Ket was one of mere practicality. They allowed us to rule their lands of Ketria, and we facilitated their lifestyle, to which they have become accustomed. Over time, we have begun to see the Ket the expression of our greatest ideals. These creatures live in absolute luxury, never lifting a finger and being worshipped as gods. Increasingly, our nobles have begun to imitate their lifestyles, and we gnolls have come to be seen as an integral part of Ketrian society. Let us fully embrace this change. We shall proclaim our faith in the Ket, declare the foundation of an empire that is both gnollish and Ketriish. Ketran. Gnollakaz. Begin. So here we get our first event, the mother or the son. We'll also accept the new traditions. Let's look at our current ones. Shock. Years of separatism decreased. Shock damage increased, both great. Core cost reduction at max, good. The thing is, though, we're not going to actually be coring much land. I plan to do a vassal-heavy focused playthrough. So let's go for the new ideas. These ideas are much more focused on quality of arms than expansion. We get stability cost. This mandate growth is excellent, of course. Tolerance of heretics isn't that great because we kind of want to convert everybody. Liberty to desire of subjects is great. Discipline's great. Promoted cultures, I guess we'll need it. Trade steering, meh. Administrative efficiency, not going to be that great because we're not going to be administrating too much. Well, we'll go quite big, you'll see. Anyway, the mother or the son. The wounds of Nahab's defiance, in which Elikanists and Niraketerists, Niratekists fought each other in a vicious civil war, are still felt deeply in Ketrian society. And Golud, that's actually the name of our rulers now, they're not emperors, they're Goluds. Golud Getria could clearly see this now, as the two priests he had summoned, it's a she as well, to court bickered between each other. You fool! You tarnished the name of the Ket to defend cruel nobles and corrupt priests. Through your actions you spit in the face of Niraket and her faithful. The elderly Niraketist priest shakes his staff in the air with great fury, but his foe, an ornate Elakarist priest, Elaketist priest, did not seem the least bit phased. Oh, of course, we should just abandon the orthodoxy of generations inspired by the words of the divine Elaket himself, and instead embrace the primitive superstitions of the peasants and slaves. Your ridiculous rambles are an affront to our faith. I'd have you executed right this Enough! Both priests turned to the Golud in shock, as the Gnoll stood up from her throne, finally fed up with the incessant bickering. I did not call you here so you could tear each other apart with your petty disputes and resentments. Were the thousands that your fratricidal war killed not enough? There will be no such conflicts under my rule. All Ketists are brothers, and if you are not embrace each other as such right this isn't, I swear to Elket and his blessed mother that I will have you charged in chains. The priests hesitate for a moment, but soon obey and join each other in a short embrace. Grizcard nods in satisfaction and continues her speech. Both sects shall be eagerly tolerated and respected under my rule. However, I suppose circumstances do mandate that we pick one as the state doctrine. Now please, expose your arguments in a calm manner and respect each other's turn. The Gnollish Emperor formed a wide smile as the two greatly humble priests resumed their speeches, much more composedly this time. So this is a simple choice of which of the two religions we want between Elkanists, Elacanketists, and Niritketists. They're both pretty much the same. Personally, I actually prefer Niritketists simply because it gains a 2% missionary strength bonus as opposed to Elkanists that get on the flip side. Yeah, am I going to be able to look at it? Gain of minus 15% stability cost. There are other differences between them but I'll talk about once accepting them. But I think for this campaign, we're going to go with Elket because it feels like the most thematic choice. At least, you'll see what I mean when we eventually probably finish the campaign. As I said, I think Mother Niret is stronger, but Elket is more thematic, so he's going to be the guy we go with. So now our religion is switched. We are no longer the heretical demon-worshipping gnolls. We're now civilized, kind of evil gnolls. Kind of. So let's talk a bit about Elkanet and Nitereket. These are both basically follow the Sikhism mechanics from vanilla, where every few years we gain a new Ketarch, which is basically the head of the religion, and then we can pick a teaching. So this is the main difference between the two faiths. Outside they're just normal bonuses, that the teachings they gain access to are different, with Niterets gaining different teachings to Elkanets. I'm really butchering these names. Anyway, the one we're going to take first of all, I think, is this grow the economy for a 10% production efficiency one. Tolerance of heretics, we're going to gain a +3 to that during part of our mission tree. And fort defense, yeah, you know, it's good, but I prefer the 10% of product efficiency, which will grow more useful as the game goes on. We'll start converting all our filthy heretic demon worshipping Gnoll provinces to a proper religion. And of course we gain a new mission tree. We can actually take one of the missions immediately, which will allow us to start demonsterizing. Ketra is the home of Gnoll kind, but it is also the old home of another race. Humans have inhabited the shores of the Sorrows since Elkat forged the river. One of the first human civilizations, it has always been the proudest and greatest their kind has ever forged. While they might no longer rule the Sorrows, they have as much of a right to live and prosper in it as we do. We must convince them of our good intentions, easing the image of Gnolls as monstrous enslavers and demon worshippers. Gnolls and humans will build a better Ketrat. United Ketra, united we are strong. That also gives us a stability, which is nice. For now, to really progress to our mission tree, we'll need to take all of the Ketra region, so we'll start working on that. Since we're now a more civilized religion, a lot of the countries that weren't willing to become our strateps before are now considerably more willing. Now that we no longer have the monstrous estate, we need to remember to give the weak shall serve the strong to our merchant estate, where it has now moved to. After all, we don't want our tributaries having vassals, or really declaring war on each other at all, or doing anything. They exist to serve, nothing more. Right, so our first order of business, now that we've replenished a little, we're going to build up a larger army, and then we're going to start beating the heck out of everyone around us, and tributizing them. Even though we are demonsterizing, we still have access to the monstrous casus belli, which is going to serve us a little well here. The first one I want to target are the gnolls next to us, who I want to beat up and actually vassalize on a large scale. They're going to be useful shock troops for us going forward. So we're just going to immediately declare war with the monstrous casus belli. No hesitation. Our goal is to annex these guys, and then we'll likely just release them as vassals. That was pretty easy. We didn't even fight a single battle. We could core this land, but I think it's much better to release it as vassals. More importantly, we're going to get these guys as a strap. Das Matus. Otherwise it'd be really annoying and hard having to fight them because of their island and the fact that we do not have anything really even resembling a navy. So they've been stratified. These guys could also be made into stratips now. We'll now release Kogarath and Kogzazel. Is that how they're pronounced? Kogzalia and Kogarafa. I believe we now tributized all the countries that directly border us that we probably want to tributize. Yeah, looks like it. Now we'll have to start thinking about declaring wars specifically to tributize people. Best to look for people who don't have any friends, like these guys. What year is it? We've still got a while before it's time to go to attack Nerat again. So we're going to attack these Armalod people. The goal of making them into a strap. Stratep gained. We're going to set most of our strateps to just give us whatever mana point we're needing at that particular moment. For now, I'm going to rush admin. Ooh, Nerat is going to war with Elizana. This could be a problem. It would likely be a problem. I suppose we'll wait and see. Nerat does have a mage ruler, so I might be able to bridge the gap in strength between them. Here's another really useful ability for us. Because we're still a monstrous nation, we can take the Monstrous Rule Splendor ability, which will just give us a really good event every now and again that will give us money and various admin, mill, or diplo points. And diplo points, it will give us all of them. The reward scales with the amount of human and elven provinces we own. And since we own quite a lot of them, the boost will be quite substantial. Here we go, the first time we've got the event, it gives us 150 gold and 40 of each point. Excellent event. Fortunately, this event will only trigger while we're in the Age of Monsters. By the moment we reach the Age of Unraveling, it'll go away forever. Right, first idea, the obvious one here is to go for court. There's very few times where you really want to go for court, but it's one of the only ways to actually get hedonism and imperial growth rate. Imperial mandate growth. Oh, and imperial authority as well, I guess, so it may be useful as a HRE emperor, obviously. The second one that will be useful here is influence, because we're going to have quite a lot of vassals, so they'll have less, and we're going to have lots of vassals that aren't actual vassals, tributaries, so they can benefit from the liberty desire decrease. Outside that, religious is pretty good, because we're going to do a lot of converting. I have been thinking that maybe it's a good idea to go expansion, so you can just colonize these provinces around the coast, but I don't think it matters that much. Just let the Canorians take them and then take it off them, right? So I think we are just going to go court first of all. It's the obvious thing to do. We're also going to get degree of knowledge as well, so we can get more innovation by doing it. We're now going to set all of our tributaries to give us dip points. You know, something I would really like, the ability to have this done instead of manually, but all of them at once. Maybe there is a way, I'll need to check. So our truce up with Nerat, they actually beat Elzana in a war, funnily enough, and managed to take a few of their provinces. Though somehow they've lost, I guess they must have attacked the old Ketra, which is now Nefast, and took these provinces. Crazy stuff. Anyway, we're going to declare war with our monstrous Casus Belli, because we actually need to take the Ketran provinces. This should be a simple war. We outnumber the Neratians so much. So we're just going to peace out and take this land. We can't full annex them, so there's no reason to go crazy. Just take what we can get, peace out, then come back again next time. We can declare war on Elanaza. I'm really struggling to pronounce it on Elisna. But they've allied pretty strong countries at this point. We could call in Gnollakaz. But personally, a part of me just kind of wants to wait for when the elves all start killing each other and then attacking them, or waiting for a war. Be nice if they attacked me like they attacked Nerat. Time to go out Stratep hunting once again. We're going to grab basically the last Gnoll nation on the continent that isn't already our Stratep. We're going to start building buildings in this area because we're going to need them. It's part of our mission tree. Almost bankrupt the nation. There we go. Every Gnollish nation is now our tributary, or in the not so southern part of the world. Oh, there's also these guys. Wait, they're dead. Okay, so I guess it is only us. I invested quite heavily in hedonism so I could get this next mission done. No one can truly rule the Mother Sorrows without the consent of the Ket. These incredibly powerful demigods were created by the almighty Elkanet millennia ago to protect the Blessed River and its people. Focusing on the pursuit of pleasure and comfort, their supreme authority, the Ketarch, delegates earthly government to mortals worthy of his trust. And now these mortals happen to be us, the new stewards of the sorrow. We're bound to these divine beings as they are bound to the Mother's sorrows. So ensuring their approval is paramount to continue the existence of our new empire. To further cement this, let us abandon our old misguided faith and fully embrace the worship of the Ket. Boom. Alright, so we're in a pretty good position here to fulfill all of our goals, really. There's a few things I want to do, though. I want to go to war with Elisnia, whatever they're called. Problem is, they've got two very strong allies. And just even with our own allies, we'll be a little outnumbered. I'm a little cautious about attacking them because we have low manpower. So I'm going to let manpower replenish for a bit before we try and attack them. Also, they are currently supporting the independence of Brasan over here, so there's a good chance they'll go to war with their masters to give them independence. That would be a good opportunity to jump them. So we're just going to wait a little, not get too greedy. I know it's hard. So this is one thing I didn't want to happen. Elisnar has now gone to war with Nerat. I was kind of hoping that I'd be able to jump Nerat before this happened. But what can you do? Nerat isn't going to be able to beat them this time because they're so much weaker now after I've taken so much of their land. So Elisnar is going to take some land, but what we're going to do is we're going to wait. Hopefully Elisnar will spend a lot of troops just sieging down things, and then we'll jump them. We'll call on our allies. We might actually try to ambush them while they're inside Nerat lands, but Nerat's almost definitely not going to give us access to their land because they absolutely hate us. We could do is actually declare war on Nerat while they're at war with Elisnar. For now, though, we're just going to wait a little bit for our truce to expire with Nerat, and then we'll try making a move. Right, truce is up, trying to bite the bullet, as it were. We're going to declare war on Elisnar with a monstrous casus belli. We'll call in our allies. We're not heavily outnumbered, but we can probably make up with it by just being gnolls, and their allies will probably be able to just wipe peace out. Nerat actually did give us access because we're at war with their enemies, which is nice. We're going to take advantage of that and try and destroy the enemy armies that are inside Nerat. They are elves, which means they have higher quality armed soldiers than normal, un-elfin-like people. But hopefully we can bridge the gap, as it were. We've managed to finish the court ideas, which will give us extra yearly hedonism, which is something we really need. We're actually going to be in the positive for a bit but it's mainly just due to our current ruler. Once she dies, we'll no longer be in the positive because we won't have the Silver Tongue trait or her high skills. We also gain some mandate growth, which is nice. We are at 80 mandate, but we'll talk about we'll finish this war, then we'll look a little about the reforms we can pass. Arguably one of the most painful parts of this nation and playing as a mandate nation in general is having to switch each of your tributaries to actually give you what you want. We're actually going to have to hire mercs. We're really bleeding out in this war due to lack of manpower. Whoa, look at those army differences. We're going to win though. I'm pretty confident. And there we go. We're going to piece out the purple nation that I'm not even going to try to pronounce. Let me try. Let me give it one try. Burzantanas. That sounds about right. He's gone. Now the war is looking a lot more equal. We just need to piece out Yand. Syriand is probably the correct pronunciation. And then it's pretty much over. For our next idea, really it's either going to be religious, maybe admin. We're not really going to do much coring though for a while once we've taken all this land, but you know, admin's pretty strong, but we're going to do a lot of converting from start to finish. I really think getting missionary is the right thing to do. On the flip side, we could get a mill idea. Probably offensive, because, you know, it's one of my favorite ideas. I'm just checking to see if anything synergizes here with the court. We could get special unit force limit increase and yearly army professionalism from the court synergizing idea, which would be quite good for us maybe a little later on in the mission tree. For now, I think I'm going to go religious. It means we're going to have a weaker army for a little bit, as we'll be investing in... We won't be investing in a mill idea, but, you know, this is how I prefer to play. We got all this converting to do. And there goes our grey friend. Well, kind of blackish. Now it's a trivial matter of just sweeping out these guys and sieging down their castles. To be honest, if you're not fighting at least one rather precarious war, are you really even playing the game? Oh, and just as we reached this war, we really should have waited, because the what is it called? The Sarmatal investigation has begun. So they would have lost all of their allies anyway if we just waited, but my greed, I couldn't sustain it. Couldn't hold it back even. It was a little more difficult war than it really should have been, but we've successfully gained pretty much everything we wanted to gain. We'll just be leaving these two provinces and of course the island that we can't siege down because we don't have a navy, and they won't give us any land on there because we don't control the fort. But that's fine. Now we're going to set all of our tributaries to start giving us admin. Eventually I'll reach a point where I won't even try to do this because it's not worth it. I'll probably just set everyone to money and ignore it, because it's just so much of a strain on my pathetic wrists. Alright, so let's talk a little bit about mandate. So we currently have 90 mandate, and in order to pass reform we require 80. Once we pass reform we lose 70 mandate and 1 stability, which means of course we'll go very low. And as you can see, there are lots of negative debuffs from being below 50% mandate. Revolt risk, less taxes, less production efficiency, army morale low, yearly hedonism down, and liberty desire for our subjects. So really we want to spend as less time as possible in negative mandate. One of the ways we can do this is let our mandate tick up as high as possible, for example to 100, because as I said, it always takes 70. So if we're at 100, we'll go down to 30. If we take this the moment we can at 80, we'll go down to 10. It's a little different to imperial authority for the Holy Roman Emperor, where no matter what the number is, when they pass reform, they go to 0. But the question is, which one are we going to take first? Our mission tree requires us to take this one, but we can't right now because we don't control the province related to it. We could establish the Medzai, but that it costs mandate to create them, and we're not exactly swimming in mandate yet, so maybe we'll hold off on that. We could start building some of these great projects like the Great Pyramid of Elkanet or the Decadent Twins, which this would really help with hedonism. Well, this gives quite a lot of buffs, and eventually at the highest level of this great project, it becomes free when it comes to stability to pass mandate reforms. We could empower the priesthood, which would give us an extra missionary, which is always nice. What I'm probably going to do is pass one of these ones, though. Mend the Broken, Enlighten the Future, or Day of the Ket. Mend the Broken gives us manpower recovery and decreases unrest, which isn't that great based on the further current situation. Enlighten the Future increases the random cadet bonus for our potential rulers and halves the chance of negative personality traits. Unfortunately, that's not going to be that useful for this nation. We'll see why later. So what we're probably going to do is pass Day of the Ket. It does decrease our tax income, but it gives us 0.25% yearly hedonism, which will help once our current ruler dies and we're no longer gaining the silver tongue bonus for hedonism. It'll also give us access to a new event called Day of the Ket, which gives various bonuses. So this is the one I'm going to pass. As you can see, our mandate immediately sinks down. Our vassals become a little not so happy about being vassals, but we'll just need to survive a bit. We are gaining quite a bit of mandate. We're losing 12 because of the devastation from the provinces we really just took and that large war. But it's a problem that will solve itself with time. Because we have these mercenaries I hired, we're actually going to immediately start attacking other nations instead of wasting time. We're likely to go over our overexpansion. In fact, we've already done it because of hedonism being down. But, you know, what's a little aggressive expansion, right? It's kind of just a number. Could we annex Nuret? We could. We can fully annex Nuret finally. There we go. Nice, easy war. Full annex. Nuret. We're going to hand some of these provinces over to our vassal, to our tributary even. He has calls on them, so it's nice for him to get them back. And we'll see why later on. We are over our aggressive expansion limit, but, you know, it's just a number. We're actually going to immediately declare war on former Ketria, now called Nefast, just to fully get them out of here, leaving us the only Ketra-like in the game. And then we'll have to start thinking about fighting Eber Hill for all of the land they control that we need. And there we go. These guys are now out of here. I'm probably going to dig in a little now. We'll hold off attacking Eber Hill a little. We need to let our manpower replenish and, more importantly, swallow the countries we've eaten. The most important part of playing this game is remembering to actually swallow the food or the nations that you've conquered. We also need to make sure that nobody gets too outraged by our conduct. What I think we are going to do is start attacking and tributizing a lot of these nations now. Since we still have these mercenaries, I know they're running out of manpower, but we might as well spend them instead of just de-hiring them. So who's going to be our first target? Who's the weakest? And who has the least allies? Kind of this guy. Sami Seshia. He is also of our religion, so he'll make a better subject. What we're actually going to do, I think, is declare war on Ajok, because these guys are allied to Sesemesh and to Kroko, and these are the only allies I have. So what we want to do is we want to really declare war on one of these, pulling this in, then declare war on the other. But we can't declare war on this guy currently because we don't have the Casabelli, because he doesn't share a border with one of our subjects. So we're going to declare war on this guy. There, that's one tributary ticked off. They're a little angry. We'll just placate them a little. Every extra tributary is more mandate that we gain from tributaries. So now we'll carry out our plan that we were talking about earlier. Who's the weakest? So we'll attack this guy with the false Stratep Casus Belli. Then we'll also declare war on this guy with the full strat at Kaz's belly. And because he has no allies, it should be a very simple conflict. What we need to do is kind of keep an eye on people whose allies aren't willing to join them, or who don't have any allies, because we can very quickly just swoop in and clean them up. There's another nation tributized. Another thing we can do is tell them to give up their claims on our other tributaries. That will make those other tributaries like us a little more. And being liked is something that we need to be careful with. And there's another one. Perfecto. Anybody else that we should jump? Our mercenaries are nearly out of manpower. Well, they are out of manpower. So we shouldn't bite off too much more than we can chew. Let's go for this little guy on the coast. A new Ketrarch is on the throne, so we get to pick a new teaching. We're going to go for control of strateps here, liberty desire from subjects. I mean, it seems like we're going to handle it pretty well, right? But there's a few events later on that I'd like to counter, as it were, by keeping them in check now. It's pretty greedy, but we could actually vassalize both these nations. Well, not vassalize, tributize. But we're going to leave one of them, I think. We're not going to tributize the smaller one. There is a reason. It's not a very good reason. But we'll talk about it later on. Alrighty, now that our manpower is replenished, it's time for us to start thinking about our next target, which is probably going to be Ebor Hill. We're probably going to... there's 2 provinces we need to take from them for our mission tree to start with. We're also going to start building up a navy now, because we need to take the island. And for that, we need boats. I'm just going to invest only in galleys for the moment. Colonization has appeared. It won't be long before the Age of Monsters ends, unfortunately, and we'll no longer gain our cool free money and free manpower that we're constantly gaining. We're actually going to build up a bigger army, even though our manpower can't really sustain one for the moment. So because we are gnolls, we can actually raid coasts. And that's something we're going to do right now. We're going to raid the coasts of the friendly, everyday Ebor Hill, because we're about to attack them anyway. We're going to try not to raid anyone else's coast just yet, because we don't want to make more enemies than we necessarily need to. Move our army into position. This should be kind of a weird war, because they're not really going to be able to get to us. They'll have to march through all of the land here to Bulwar, unless they land via sea, and if they land by sea, we'll of course win. We heavily outnumber them though. Are they techs ahead of us? Yeah, they're 1 mil tech ahead of us, but that's not the end of the world. We only need to take 2 provinces off them for our mission tree to start with. But it'd be nice if we could take more. For a second then I was scared that I'd picked the wrong casus belli, but I didn't. Ah, Vern has landed. Good. And they even landed on a fort province, which will make our lives easier, because they won't be able to escape. As long as we can get to them before they can siege down the province. It's always nice when enemies throw themselves onto our spears. Alright, so let's start thinking about what we're going to take. We're going to take these provinces because we need these 2. We're actually going to leave as much land as we can in Deshak's control. Why? Because we really want them to revolt. They already have 100% liberty desire. So them revolting is kind of a matter of time. We'd like it to happen sooner rather than later. So we'd like to leave them with as much land as possible to encourage that. Outside of that, we'd like to restore Vicor, whatever they're called, to power. I know it's going to push me over my... Well, actually, no, it's not. It's not going to push me over my limit because we broke our alliance with Tulok after they got Jadard. So in reality, everything will be cool and good. We do want to let Ebor Hill colonize this province here, just so we don't have to eventually do it ourselves, so we'd like to leave them in control of that southern part. So we're going to take as much land as we can over this side, and then we'll give all of it to our vassal. We have to be careful with aggressive expansion though, because these guys are Canorians, and so other Canorians won't like us taking a lot of their land. That's more reasonable. We'll also have to see, because we're over on the other side and we're not going to be able to siege their main city and bases. So of course our war score is going to be quite low. Oh, we can immediately declare on Elaznar right now, and their vassal, most of their allies won't join. We're going to do it, I think. We're not actually going to be able to actually attack their island because we don't have a large enough navy, but we're going to keep the war going until we do have a large enough navy, and then we're just going to walk across. In fact, let's start building more galleys. We barely have any money, but you know, we're going to take the burgher loans. I hate to do it because it's basically cheating, but we need the money. He's got a navy of 20, so if we have 20 galleys, that should be more than enough to defeat him. Our Empress finally died. She lived a really long time. Now, as you can see, our hedonism is going to start dropping. Not by much, only by 0.17 for the moment, but our current ruler, they're not as good. They should live quite a while, though, because of having high hedonism increases ruler life expectancy. But we'll see. It's not the end of the world if they die early. There we go, we're going to peace out Eburn Hill. We're not going to be able to release the lands that we've taken just yet because, of course, we're still at war. But that's a minor issue. We managed to make it onto the island with our paltry navy. Now we just need to siege down these provinces, and then we'll probably never interact with these guys again. We will tributize them if they're still alive after a point, but if they're not, we'll never have to think about them ever again. And there we go. We've now actually managed to complete one of our missions. We just need for devastation to decrease in these provinces, and then we're all good. So let's give out some land. Our tributary here will give him out these provinces that were once his. We'll then release Vicor, whatever their name is, and we'll give them all the land we have over on this side for them to manage. And there we go. In one move, we reduced our aggressive expansion to next to nothing. Now we just gotta wait a little bit for the manpower to replenish to deal with these revolts. And then we can actually move on with our mission tree. Huzzah! You never thought you'd see the day. We're going to set our tributaries to start paying us gold again, because we're really packed on the various points. We've actually got an event to release Kurashal as a vassal. We're not going to do it because I don't like to do it, but refusing it gives us mandate, so we're going to pass a mandate reform. And it's going to be establish the Ahati, which we need to do for our mission tree anyway. And then we'll take the mandate growth. Need to build a temple here. The Ahati are going to be a bit of a problem. They're actually our first disaster that we're going to experience. Of quite a few. Well, two. For now, we won't fully give them all of the privileges I might want to give them, because they're going to rebel anyway.